Lahore Grammar School, Quetta, lesson by Faiza Shah for grade 7. Subject is Islamiyat, and we are on hadith number 11 among the 20 hadiths that we are covering. We are going to talk about orphans here. What do we understand by hadith? As previously your teacher must have told you in the previous lessons, she must have explained to you what hadiths are for. They are the sayings of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the last prophet of Allah. Whatever he said, whatever he did, what he did was sunnah. What he said were hadiths. They were recorded by many ashab around him, and that is how we know them today, and they are authentic. We make sure that they're authentic before we spread them, before we tell someone else about hadith. We should be very careful about that. So what Prophet Muhammad said is that blessed is the wealth of a Muslim from which he gives to the poor, the orphans, and the needy travelers. So can you imagine that Muhammad said that blessed is the wealth? If the wealth is blessed, imagine what blessings a Muslim would be having if he is to take care of an orphan or a poor or a needy or a widow. So boys and girls, here we're going to talk about what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about the person who takes care of an orphan. Ana wa kafilul yatimi. It means me and the sponsor of the orphan. Fil jannah. It means in heaven. Hakada. Just like this. Waqala. And he said, بِأَسْبَئَيْهِ السَّبَابَ وَالْوُسْطَى. And he put his fingers together, just like here in the pictures you can see. He put his fingers together, the forefinger and the middle finger together, and he said that the person who's going to take care of an orphan in this world is going to be right beside me in heaven, just like these two fingers together. So I and the man who brings up an orphan will be like this in paradise. And he pointed with his two fingers, the index finger and the middle finger, right? So what is the teaching in this hadith? What do we understand by this? In this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has promised a great reward to those who care for and look after orphans. Those Muslims who follow the Prophet ﷺ recommendation of caring for orphans will find themselves close to him in paradise. So you understand, the person who will take care of an orphan, easy, very easy. So you take care of an orphan and you find yourself close to or among those people who are very close to the last prophet, and it's a great reward, by the way. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, being an orphan himself, he was an orphan before he was even born. His father died and he was later born, and he was born as orphan, and one of his alqab also, he was known as yatim among the Arabs because he was born orphan. So he was born as, he was an orphan himself, and was not only sensitive to the plight of orphans, but showed great sensitivity towards them, and continuously reminded his ummah to take very good care of them. Allah too has instructed Muslims to treat orphans with kindness and with humility. Treat not the orphan with harshness, and that is said in Quran that you should not be harsh or loud with an orphan. Orphans are the responsibility of the entire Muslim community, and the care is a moral duty of all Muslims for which the Almighty will reward them. So Allah has given us, Allah has made sure, because this is human's nature, they won't do anything unless they are rewarded. So Allah has made, has made sure that everybody will be rewarded because when it comes to the orphans, because this is having an orphan in a community, you know, and if that orphan is being taken care of, it means that is a good community, Muslim community. That is one good Muslim community. So it is the responsibility of the entire Muslim community to take care of this particular orphan, or if there are more orphans in a community, in order to be rewarded by Allah. It is thus binding on the benefactors of orphans to treat them with kindness and gentleness, protect them from the cruelties of society, and ensure that if any wealth and property has been left by their parents for them, it is preserved as a trust till they reach the age of maturity and handed over to them honestly. Like you cannot be, you know. Not at all. I mean, it's not accepted by Allah that if anyone in the society takes up the responsibility of an orphan and then later, leave that poor boy or girl or children until they reach to the age of maturity, they eat up their property, they take their money, or they take their property, or they take whatsoever has been left by their parents. It is a moral duty of a Muslim to take care of the orphans and their belongings until they reach to an age of maturity to understand what belongs to them. Right? So putting these teachings into action. How can we put these teachings into action? A Muslim can provide food, shelter, and financial assistance to orphans. If the orphan's father was in debt, then the lender can exonerate that debt, or another Muslim can pay it off on behalf of the orphan. What is the meaning of exonerate? The lender can either the person who has taken who has given the money to the father of an orphan, and the father dies, and now the orphan obviously cannot pay him back. So what he can do is that he can waive it off. He can just waive it off. Or else another Muslim who can afford to pay it off for the orphan can do that on his behalf, so that orphan is not being badgered by the lenders that you need to give us the money back. So in the case of orphans where they have been left with an inheritance, now if they are left with the property or with any asset, that should be protected and returned to them when they attain maturity. As we have discussed earlier, that whatsoever is given to them should be returned to them when they attain maturity. Their wealth can be invested with all sincerity by the benefactor in legal business if he has the relevant skills to do so, and from which he can take a specified part from the profits made. Now, this way the benefactor will be able to benefit himself in this life and in the hereafter. How? Because he's also going to make money and profit out of it. So if the person knows that where and how to use the orphans, the person taking care of the orphan, if he knows how to take care of this money or to make profit out of it, they should do that, because this is also rewarded in the eyes of Allah. When it comes to the orphan girls, a Muslim should make arrangement for their marriages with best matching persons and should generously donate towards their dowries. These are some of the ways in which the teaching of the hadith can be implemented. It has been reported that once Muhammad found an orphan who was crying, and he consoled him by asking him, "Would you not like Muhammad to be your father and Aisha to be your mother?" And that is said in Al-Bukhari. So it's quite authentic. That were the teachings. I mean, these are the teachings of my beloved Muhammad Prophet ﷺ. And what a man, the complete man, the only man who knew how to live about the ways of Quran and what the teachings of Islam and the teachings of Allah. So please, don't just read it and don't just try to understand it, but also implement it. Because when we hear a hadith and when we implement it in our lives, it rewards the person who told you about the hadith and the person who's implementing it on himself as well. So if you are implementing it and you're doing it, you are going to teach others, maybe your younger brother or sisters, or probably your cousins or your friends, or in your circle. You will be known as a good person because you are living by the book of Allah and by the teachings of Muhammad, who, by the way, taught whatsoever was in Quran. So he lived his life according to the Quran, and if we're following him, then definitely we're going to paradise. So boys and girls, please keep on um, keep on keeping distance and stay home, stay safe till we open the school again and we get all back together. Bye bye.